in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks for listening to the Android Experience podcast. This is a show where we keep you posted on what's new in the world of Google and Android and share our experiences with the platform. This is episode 24 on Thursday, June 8th, 2017. I'm your host, Patrick Bergadamo, and I'm joined by my co-host, Bill Stebbins.
Hello. Welcome back, Patrick.
It seems like it's been over a month since we talked. Oh, wait, it has.
Yeah. May was crazy.
Wow.
June's not looking much better, but we found some time.
Yeah. I mean, we finally decided we really had to talk about this tech. I mean, at some point, you get tired of not having someone who knows tech to talk to about stuff.
No kidding.
But kind of getting into it, one of the things in our What's Happening, the Google Assistant had an update which brought popular search phrases to the Gboard, which I don't know if you use it very much. To me, it's actually helpful because that way, if you have common things you ask Google Assistant for, you just hit the button. You don't have to re-say it, or if you find that something you use a lot, especially if you're kind of on the go or walking and stuff, it's an easy way to kind of do it. Plus, that means you don't have to ask what the weather is like in front of the conference room.
Yeah. I mean, I like, some people get weirded out by giving too much information, but if it makes my life easier, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll be happy when I finally get Jarvis, but till then, I'll take any updates they give me on this. So Netflix, which I'm sure you remember a while back, Netflix updated so that you could download movies to watch offline. Well, they've now taken the extraordinary step to block the installation of the Play Store if you're on a rooted phone. We kind of figured that was going to happen at some point because of the concerns of piracy and things of that sort. But if you have a rooted phone, you're probably not going to get the Play Store unless you can go find it, sideload it. Which, if you're rooted, you're probably going to know how to do that anyway.
Yeah, apparently there's something in the Play Store that allows developers to, and I can't remember. I'm getting old, so I don't remember what it's called, but there's something that is now an option you can check and say if it doesn't pass this certification, don't allow install. That's not to say that it can't still be installed. Like, you can sideload Netflix and it works just fine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really a big deal, but quite honestly, me personally, you know how big I was into rooting a while back. I don't even bother. I haven't rooted this Pixel at all. Yeah. And I don't really miss anything because they've incorporated so much of what I really like that it's so solid that I don't need to do any weird tweaks to it.
Yeah, I would say that the big thing, especially as Android evolved, they have forced it to allow more things for you to customize the things that you wanted to root for in the first place. Plus, with the pure Google experience on the Pixel, I mean, they haven't locked down the things that a manufacturer and a carrier would usually do, which is usually why you want to root a phone.
Yep. Yeah. So, I always would talk about this in terms of the Xbox, and way back on the first Xbox, I used to mod those to be able to, do Xbox Media Center and a bunch of other stuff. And what Microsoft did to address that was, that led to piracy and a lot of other stuff. But what they ended up doing on the new one, on the Xbox One, is they made it, they saw the mods that people were doing and they started incorporating those. So now your Xbox One is your media center and it does kind of all the cool stuff that you were modding the other one to do, so it really kind of eliminated the need to do that. And Google took that same approach and said, what is it that people are hacking their phones to do? And can we incorporate that in the stock or the Google version of Android? And that took away a lot of the need for people like me who are pretty diehard about it to even have to worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, as they opened up the kernel and everything for manufacturers to give you customization options, it in itself did exactly what most people were rooting for in the first place.
Yep.
So the Android Device Manager has now renamed itself as Find My Device. That sounds awfully familiar to another operating system app.
No, I've never heard that before. Don't know what you're talking about.
But I mean, it does make more sense because device manager, a lot of people they're like, oh, how do I find my stuff? Device manager. Oh, I thought that was something that was just like if you for corporation or somebody to load something on the devices and things like that. I'm like, no, that's find your device. What it's nice. It's now called find my device. It's nice when an app is basically branded for what it actually does.
Yep.
So, I mean, yes, you can wipe it and ring us up, but really the purpose of that app was to find your device or find your spouse if they had left it on.
Yeah. And, you know, now that they've moved that functionality to Google Maps, where you can do essentially find my friends, which is on iOS. I know Donnie, who does the simulcast with us, was looking at moving to Android. And every time he did, one of the big sticking points was that he didn't have Find My Friends. And now that you can actually do that in Maps, that really eliminates the need to kind of switch back to iOS, at least for that part.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that the integration between those things is good because, I mean, like we said, with Assistant becoming more integrated in other things instead of being exclusive to certain phones and certain apps, the more integration in that sense, that's kind of what people have been afraid of leaving iPhone for. And Google's finally kind of addressing that. They're finally doing the bells and whistles, so to speak.
Yep.
So the big story for our top stories was obviously last month we had Google I/O 2017 and didn't have some of this. I'll start off by saying they didn't have some of the stuff I would hope would have come up, but there was definitely some goodness to come out of that.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of cool stuff. I mean, the keynote was pretty cool to see. The thing we've been talking about, how long, you even mentioned this last podcast about the standalone Daydream headsets.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that's going to be fantastic.
And I think the good thing is the more it's standalone, the less it's dependent on your phone, which means your phone doesn't have to be overheating and you can use it for other purposes as well. But I mean, it makes more sense. Let it be your connector for data while having, you also lose a lot of the screen door effect by doing a standalone headset. You don't have to worry about, does my size of my phone fit this? I mean, it creates much more ubiquitousness about the headset across the different Android phones.
Yes, totally. And that's going to be good going forward.
Well, I think the big thing for it as well is this problem with the standalone headsets now is they're chained to your desktop. If you can have a standalone one that's changed just by using your phone for data and stuff, that opens up a lot of interactive stuff, like which originally was the idea about, they showed kind of like Google Glass being able to possibly have the immersive things, kind of like the HoloLens type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You could have that with something like this, because if you have a standalone headset, all you have to do is put on the front of the headset a little button camera or something, so that you can incorporate things. Maybe if you're going to approach something too close, it kicks on and warns you that you're going to run into something. I mean, there's a lot of things they can do with a standalone headset that you can't do with the current setup.
Yeah, hopefully the pricing isn't too bad on that. I mean, it's basically just a screen and a battery with some kind of processor.
You figure the Samsung version will come with the new Galaxy S9 free headset.
Yeah.
We promise it won't explode.
Yeah. Here, put this right in front of your eyes.
We'll call it the Two-Face edition, because that's what you're going to look like.
You should go ahead and just make that meme now.
I mean, yeah. Anybody out there in the listening, if you create that, just give the podcast the credit, and you're good.
Yeah,
we want to see that.
I think that's our show title, right? Two-Face edition.
Yes. So some of the other things they did, some of it was kind of almost a tease because it's not out yet. The Google Photo update to me was kind of interesting. The idea that you're going to be able to edit your photos, in the sense of, they showed like if you're taking a picture of your kid at the ballpark, it can edit out the fence that's in between you and your kid.
That's fantastic. I
Yeah,
can't tell you how many pictures I have where I've tried to zoom in and change the manual focus to get that to work. And it works, but it's not perfect. And I'm curious to see how that works in the Google Photos app.
my guess, my initial guess, because they were still kind of, because it's not something that's out yet of how it's going to do it. My first guess was something kind of like with the Photos app where they do the things for animation and stuff like that. It'll be something that gets kind of done on their server side once the photo gets uploaded into your Google Photos. That's one of the editing features, and then it'll kind of process probably not on your phone but through their server.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the other interesting thing, kind of going with the similar to iOS meme, you'll now also be able to buy photo books with your photos in it.
Yep.
I'm surprised it took them that long to get into that game, um, but the photo update looks interesting. The thing that to me that was interesting, because I still have it on my phone even though it hasn't been updated since what, like 14, Google goggles finally gets a replacement with Google Lens, and that it's going to incorporate the sense of being able to do what Google goggles was originally intended, where you take a picture or it can take context based things of a photo and give you information about it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait till that's all just kind of seamless and we don't even have to worry about it.
And the good thing about this is the Lens app is going to work with Assistant so that it can basically recognize what your camera's pointed at. So that in itself, I could already see be interesting with that standalone headset, so that it identifies things for you. But think of what Google Maps. If you can just hold your camera up and take a picture, and it can explain what that is, then tie it into Maps, you can find out where you're at. And
Yep.
so the possibilities of it with their integration are pretty interesting.
Agreed.
It'll also be interesting to see if they do similar to the Microsoft Translator app, which I actually still use a lot too, where you basically can take a picture of foreign text and it translates it for you, like a sign or even just text off of a box. If you buy something, it can tell you exactly what it says, which can be great when you order stuff that comes from China.
There you go.
Although, speaking of iOS, the other kind of announcements, which kind of went live early on, so it was less of a this is coming to. Oh, by the way, if you haven't already noticed, Google Assistant has come to iOS. So it's obviously it's not going to be as integrated as you will have on Android, but it is interesting. I mean, it seems not that long ago you only had it for what was the stupid app? Allo. It was the only one you could that had it. Then it was a Pixel exclusive. Then it went to all the Android phones. Now it's even to iOS. And so, to me, especially if you're someone who maybe has both operating systems, like say you have an iPad and an Android phone, to be able to have that assistant across both is good is to me a game changer. And it's also a way, if you just don't like Siri, or you don't like certain things of Siri, but you like your Google Assistant, you can use it on iOS now, at least to some limited effect.
Yep.
So Google Home was also a big part of this. I haven't really integrated stuff. I think you got the Google Home, didn't you?
I have two of them.
Two. So for you, this would actually be pretty interesting. One, they're going to integrate their update the ability to dial phone, place phone calls and answer phone calls through your Google Home. So if your phone's charging, you can still pick up the phone in the other room through your Google Home.
That's going to be really interesting. And especially I'm waiting to see how they incorporate it for different users, because we have a Google Voice account for our home number. And then I have one for my number, and my wife has one. And so I don't know if you'll be able to pick which one, because I've got two, one upstairs, one downstairs. If you can pick which one rings, whether you want it to ring at all. I'll be honest, I'm not super hopeful that it's going to be very useful or work very well, because they still don't have reminders working on Google Home.
Yeah. Now, part of the other thing with this is that they're supposed to be adding these increased functionality, the things that people have been saying, like reminders and more accessible through Google Home to other apps as well as to other devices. Because I think one of the things they show was the idea that you got locked out of your home, you forgot your keys or something. You can call your Google Home, it'll pick up, and you can through it tell it to unlock your door. If that's assuming you don't already have like a Wi-Fi thing on your door to do it like through Bluetooth. But I mean, it's just, there was just ways that you can, they're looking to now take just the simple functionality and integrate it on that as well, which is, that's what Google Home really needs to have like a true access to assistant, the Google Assistant, and true integration, not only to devices, but apps as well.
Yep.
So I think you'd put this one about Android O beta, if you want to go ahead and talk about that one.
So the Android O beta was released. I think it came out the same day as Google I/O, but I can't remember. Actually, it may have been out before then.
I think the official one came out the last day, like or the day of the keynote, I think.
Okay, yeah, because the way they've been doing it, they do like a developer alpha kind of, you can check your app, but don't use this as a daily driver because it's terrible kind of thing. So usually around developer preview 2 is when I jump on board now. That means that it's pretty stable. Pretty much everything will work. And so for the most part, the O beta was working great for me. There was a couple of janky things. If you didn't reboot your phone about, I used to do it every morning, it would start to slow down, like maybe there's some memory leaks or something. And then the camera was really slow to start up sometimes. And then there was something else that was kind of janky, but and I think they even list jankiness as one of the concerns. And that's the actual terminology.
Picking up the jargon.
Yeah. But so DP3 was released today, and I've only had it on my phone for maybe 2 or 3 hours because I actually waited for the OTA this time. But they've cleaned up a lot of stuff. Android O is officially going to be 8.0. So we know it's not going to be a point release. Yeah, which isn't really a surprise because they said last year we're going to do one major release of Android every year.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a number upgrade every year, which makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, early on, even when they were doing major ones, it might just be a point, like when they went from what was it, gingerbread to from Eclair to gingerbread, then to Eclair. But from Eclair to gingerbread was only 0.1. Then honeycomb, and then you started seeing the weird increments, and then you had the, what was it, lollipop, I think was the one that was multiple numbers.
Yeah. And then Kit Kat was
4.4.
Yeah. And I mean, it's been kind of weird. I'm glad they're actually saying we're going to go one version every year, and then whatever incremental thing happens in between. I've never really understood the versioning for really any software. I don't necessarily think that it's a structured thing. They just kind of, we're going to make this 7.1.3.
I think what I'm more interested in to see what O is going to be.
It's got to be Oreo.
If they do a tie-in, because I mean, obviously that's copyrighted. I mean, you could also do, since it's desserts, maybe orange sickle or something.
I really honestly hope that they do Oreo and they make a black phone with like a white bezel, like the Cream Center, right?
That, or I could also see maybe doing like with a dual theme, a dark theme, light theme.
I mean, it would be perfect. You take this phone, right? Black face and just a white bezel, black, white. It would be perfect.
Basically, you have your black and white cookie.
Yeah. And I honestly am at this point hoping they don't put the light bar on the back so I can still make money off the stickers.
I'm curious to see that. My guess is they probably won't do it because it makes it. it's easier to do a single LED on a phone, whereas it made more sense, I think, on the Pixel tablet, because the idea was, and I didn't even realize this at first because I had a case, which makes it hard to use, that when it's closed, you tap it and it will light up by touch.
Yeah, but I think that all they were doing, I think the way they were able to do that on the Pixel C was because it's an LCD screen and not an AMOLED. So they're using the backlighting to actually light those pixels.
Mm.
I think.
Well, because I know, of course, when you read the instructions at some point, like when I was looking through the box before I threw it away, it was talking about that when your screen's off, if you actually tap the bar on the back, the bar will light up and it will flash and let you know what type of notifications you have based on the colors that flash without turning your device on.
So,
So
that's,
yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting. I think the big thing I'm more interested in at this point is what's the Pixel 2 going to be like?
yeah, I saw some some crappy render of a Pixel 2 supposedly that was not going to have the bezels, and it's like, oh, it's going to have bezels. Just get over it.
Yeah.
Google's not leading design anywhere.
Although I think a lot of it's going to depend on who they get to manufacture them for them. That may play a little bit into how the design goes. Because I mean, if they, for some reason, if they were able to get Samsung to do it, then you might get some design tweaks like that, or even to some degree an LG. But if they go like HTC again or Huawei, I don't see it being anything out there, especially considering the cost is already going to be kind of a premium compared to what we used to see for the Nexus. That they're not going to go overboard with that.
Yeah. And really the last phone that they did that was really, as far as hardware goes, was probably the Nexus S with that waterfall on the, the way the screen curved and stuff. And that still had, I mean, that
I would have said maybe the Nexus 4 with the glass back and everything was the last time you had something that was kind of different.
But wasn't that when the iPhone had a glass back too?
Well, yeah, it had it for a while. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was LG come up with. I mean, I actually like the design of that phone. If if the Pixel would go back to something like that, I'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Although I do hope one of the few things I'd like to see them bring to the Pixel line is wireless charging. I like the quick charge stuff, but to be able to integrate it with your wireless charging again would be nice, especially like at work and stuff.
Yep.
Give me options. So I think we had talked about the story a couple months ago about Google's AI that they had been creating that was kind of becoming sentient, and the question of whether they're creating Skynet. Well, apparently they now have a second gen that is a processing unit that to train itself to learn. And that that was one of the things they talked about at Google I/O, that the second gen processor is coming, as they've developed, and that the processor itself is like amazing, that it can teach itself like stuff in half the time that it used to need to learn. And so I don't know what's scary, the fact that Google, who likes to get all your data, is creating something that can think for itself, or the fact that it can do it in twice the amount of time.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting to see Google, at least on the hardware side, is doing other things beyond just the Android stuff. So it'll be interesting how that goes. Kind of non-IO related things is that we've kind of got a rumor that the refurb Note 7s, which I think we talked about before, that there was a talk that they might refurb some of these with a smaller battery that hopefully won't blow up in your hand and resell them at a discount. So apparently they're going to call it the Note FE. So my question is that the fireproof edition?
Oh, there's just going to be jokes upon jokes upon jokes. I mean, it's just not going to stop, right?
Although if it was cheap enough, I might actually consider having that as a just kind of a play around phone, because I like the S Pen and everything, the functionality of that. It'd be great to have just occasionally just throw the SIM card in it, especially like if I know I'm going to have intense meetings during the day or something like that. Be something worth maybe picking up, especially if it's at a good enough discount.
Yeah, that's true.
So, kind of moving out of that into our picks, what you got for us, Bill?
All right. So my pick this week, I don't know if I picked these before, but I'm picking them again.
That's your prerogative.
I can't remember. I think it's been longer since we did the last show. I didn't have them, but I just installed some Nest outdoor cameras. And for, I guess, 6 months or so, I've had the Ring Video doorbell. And we've had some things going on around here the last couple months, or last month or so. And I got to say, having those cameras has been fantastic. The fact that I get alerted anytime anything's going on, I can see what's going on at any point in time. I have a saved record of any activity that's going on. It's just fantastic. And originally, I was a little hesitant to spend the money. And before that, I had some cameras from Amazon, just some I don't remember what even brand they were, but I had an app on my phone, and it just didn't work very well from a recording perspective or anything like that. So I ponied up I think it was $350 for a pair of those cameras from Nest, and then another 100 a year for the recording on one, and 50. So it's all in, you're like $500 to get going, but it's been absolutely fantastic. And, you can set up your notifications however you like. So if you're home, you don't get notified when you walk out on your own deck. And I can see when my kids get home from school and see what they're doing. And, the technology has come such a long way. And I probably should have put one of the stories in here, which isn't directly related to Google, but since they are a Google company, Nest actually has a 4K camera coming out, and it's not actually 4K. Well, it is, but it doesn't record in 4K, but it'll allow you to zoom in on certain areas and get more high resolution stuff. So the way the Nest camera works, when it uploads all the footage, and then I guess on the cloud side of things, it's analyzing it, and it's pretty quick, like a few seconds for the notifications or whatever. So when it sees that there's movement or whatever in your app, you see a thumbnail of where the point on the picture where that activity occurred. And so I think what's going to happen is it's going to have the ability to zoom retrospectively, like, a few seconds back or whatever, to zoom in and actually see that in high res still. So it's going to be pretty cool stuff. And I may look at getting one, but I think that one's a little pricier.
So I guess one of my questions for you is, how does the Ring doorbell thing install?
So there's two versions. I have the first version, which had a battery in it, as well as you could power it off of your existing doorbell wiring, which is a 12-volt transformer somewhere in your house. So essentially all that you do if you already have an existing doorbell is you take that doorbell out, and there's two wires, and you hook those up, and then you screw it to your wall or whatever. And that's pretty much it. It connects through Wi-Fi. The new one has to be hardwired.
Oh, so for me, I would have to look for the first gen then, because we have like a doorbell thing, but it's not a traditional doorbell thing for apartment complex. So I was thinking the first one I thought there was a battery option, but okay, so it makes me, if I do go with that, I'll have to go with the first one.
Yeah, and they still sell the first gen, I believe. I got mine on Black Friday. It was like $125 then. But the fact that it does motion sensing and will alert you if somebody's at your door before they ever ring the doorbell, is pretty cool.
I actually saw there was a friend of a friend on Facebook from near my hometown had posted, because they had their set up with their Nest cameras. I mean, And so they actually caught this guy who pulled up, stopped, and ran up to their front door and stole a package.
Mhm.
And so they were able to have it. And so I think I was just immediately thinking with that 4K, with the problem with the current ones is if you try to freeze frame and zoom in on a face, it pixelates.
Yep.
If it can do that, that'll make, especially if you live in an area where you know that's happening a lot, it'd be nice.
Yeah. So
how does the storage stuff work for the Nest cameras?
So it uploads to the cloud, and you can pay the $100 a year for the one camera is 10 days worth of storage.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the option to go through and save clips to your account, and in the app you can download them. I think in on the app on the web, like on your regular computer, you can save up to an hour or 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool because you can actually scroll through a timeline in the app and see, I mean, it's continuously saving stuff. So you could actually get a timeline and it'll let you do a time lapse. So you could do a whole day and see like how the sun rises and sets. And
Mm-hmm.
It's actually pretty cool to see.
Interesting. Yeah, I've already started making a list for when I finally do pull the trigger and get a house. Things that I know for connectivity I have to have, because I figured that'll be the perfect time to do it, because you can put it in with all their costs when you're doing it, setting it up.
Yep.
So my pick is the Chromebook Plus. I know the Pro just came out, although I was leery about waiting for it because there were some concerns that the Chromebook Plus by Samsung, the Plus has the more mobile processor versus the Pro having the Intel M. And there were some concerns with the Intel M and how it would translate in running Android apps, because these support, at least in beta right now, Android apps. I've loved it so far. I've actually, for a long time, have been carrying it instead of my MacBook Pro to use as just a daily access laptop, because one of the things I forgot was that with Chrome OS, the Chrome you get in it is the full desktop version. So it supports Flash and all the extensions. So I'd rather use, I actually gave my Pixel C to my mom because her, the Nexus 9 I'd originally given her was starting to have problems. So, because I just found I was using the Chromebook Plus more because it flips around into a tablet mode. The only negative I would say is when it runs the Android apps in full screen, there is still the little X in the top right. And if you kind of holding the bezel wrong, you tap it and your app closes in the middle of an app.
Oops.
Which sucks if you're in the middle of Attack on Boom Beach.
Oh.
But what's really cool with it, though, is, I mean, the RAM on it is 4 gigs of RAM. It only has 32 gigs of onboard storage, which for the Android apps right now in beta, they only will store locally. So that could be a problem depending on how much you're loading onto it. But it does have a micro SD card slot. I have a 32 gig in it right now, but I think it's, if I recall, it supports up to 256. So you have the ability to add extra storage for like your documents and things of that sort. The only real knock I have with it, and it's really not its fault, it's really Microsoft, and I'm talking to you right now, Microsoft, because I guess they were worried about the Chromebook stealing more away from their sales. They basically have blocked temporarily the installation of Word, Excel, and was it OneNote, I guess is the other one, from the Play Store. And which is bad because there is no Chrome version of it. And the bad thing is you can sideload those apps, but for the Chromebook, the way the Chrome OS works, you have to put it in developer mode, which, you want to talk about janky, you run the risk of completely crashing your device. So
Yep.
I've been kind of leery. And at first they were saying they were going to allow it to say supported. So when I originally bought it, I went ahead and paid the 1 year for the Android, for the Office 360, because they were saying we're gonna, because your screen's bigger than the 10 inches, you're gonna have to have the subscription. So I was like, that's fair. I'll pay for it to be able to have full access to full Word. I'll pay for it. Well, then they pulled that. You do have the ability to use Word, the online version, like through Chrome, but it's nowhere near as good as the full app. I mean, it works for basic stuff, and with the 360 subscription, you can still do editing and things of that sort, but it's still not as great as having the app, because that way, if you're not connected, you can do more editing and things of that sort. Because I mean, I do like Google Docs, but there are some issues if you're dealing with something where, like in the workplace, where it's going to have to go back to Word. The formatting doesn't always work well. It's kind of like the old open office stuff. Yeah, it could do edits, but if you were trying to go back and forth between those into actual Word and open office, your formatting got messed up terribly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do love it. I kind of do want another tablet, but I was getting kind of bored with the Pixel C, because anything I wanted to do on it, I was doing on the Chromebook Plus in tablet mode, plus being able to have a full browser. It also has S Pen. I haven't really used it as much yet, but I figure once Word and stuff gets going more, and with Keep, it has good functionality. Although I take it back, it's not really called S Pen. It's the Samsung Pen one, because it doesn't have the buttons like the S Pen does. But I mean, it stores it, so I mean, it works well. It's all aluminum and glass. The trackpad works really well. It does not have backlit keys like the Acer version does, but I usually run it on less than half brightness, because if you put it on full brightness, I don't care how dark the room is, your keys are going to glow. But I mean, it's nice. One interesting thing, I don't know if you've had a Chromebook before, didn't you?
My daughter has one.
On hers, does it? I noticed on mine, the letters on the keyboard are actually lowercase.
They may be. I never really. I'm surprised my OCD didn't pick up on that.
But I mean, it works really well. I've used it with Bluetooth headphones all the time. The speakers are located on the bottom, so they actually work well when you're sitting down on stuff. But if you're holding it up, and sometimes it doesn't get the echo effect it needs to be as loud as it should be. But on the go, usually you carry some earbuds or something, you're fine. But so like when you use YouTube, you can either use the YouTube Android app or just use YouTube through Chrome. It runs all Chrome apps and most Android apps. And so, I mean, it's the kind of best of both worlds. It wasn't that expensive. I got it for, $445. And so,
not bad at all.
No, I mean, and the fact that it has full Chrome, for most people, that's all they really want in a laptop, is to be able to check their email and do browsing. You can do that.
Yep. So, I just realized that we missed a top story, and I don't know why we missed it, but I just stuck it in there.
So let's rewind and go back.
Yeah. So, bonus, but wait, there's more. So Andy Rubin, his new company has announced their first smartphone, and it's an Android-based phone, so it's definitely relevant here. It's called I don't know if it's the PH1 or the phone, because it's PH-1, which is PH-ONE, which is phone. But it's a not super affordable $700 smartphone that has some weird design choices. It's been very polarizing for a lot of people because of the location of the top front-facing camera. So this is essentially a bezel-less phone. Well, it's almost bezel-less. It's bezel-less except for the bottom. There's a small chin. But so around the top, there's not really a bezel except where the front-facing camera has like this cutout in the middle of the top of the screen.
It almost looks, I pulled it up. It looks almost like if you have like a tempered glass screen shield.
Yep.
It basically has the U cut out for the camera.
That is essentially what it is. And so, see what I did there, essentially. So I kind of dig that. I mean, it looks really cool. And I was actually considering getting one. It has some cool functionality. So Moto did Moto mods, and those are cool in a way, but you're kind of stuck with the same form factor for the next 3 years. Mm-hmm. The way that the Essentials address this is they've got a magnetic port on the back of the phone that's basically just provides power to whatever attachment. And you'll be able to at launch buy a 360 camera. I think it's like an extra $50. And you can pop that on and have, 360 camera stuff, which would be cool for, sporting events, or like me, if I'm in, out racing my car or whatever, you can do that in virtual reality.
Or at a soccer game.
Yeah. And so that's going to be really cool. But I'll tell you, I don't know what the deal is. The camera is supposed to be really good, but so far the pictures that have been put out there by some of the people working on Essential, the camera's not so good. I mean, it's like bad. And so
is it the camera? Is it the people, or is it maybe just the software for rendering using the camera? Maybe.
I don't know, but the picture that I saw that one of their CEOs put out there looked like it was taken with a Titan.
Ooh.
I mean, it's just like it was a low light photo, but it was like looking out a hotel window, and it was starting to get dark, and there was so much noise, and it was just so terrible. And I was like, oh man, I can't go from the Pixel camera to that. So,
I mean, that's interesting. I think the more people come out there, even if it fails, if they have some good ideas, the other manufacturers will pick up on it. So I've always liked that. Even if you have a bad phone, if it has something in it that is a thought or a function, those usually get integrated at some point. It's just kind of like, you would think at some point Google would integrate some aspect of a stylus for their tablets. Even if for pure Android, it would seem to make sense, especially with this, now that we have the Chrome OS has an S Pen built into it from the Samsung one. They've tried to that apparently that's where people were expecting maybe to get some more stuff at Google I/O on Chromebooks, and we didn't really get it. Maybe we'll get something like that in the fall.
I hope so.
I mean, it seems like after the falling out Samsung kind of had on the watches, that Chromebooks is an area they know they can kind of make a lot of money on.
Let's see. But so I was really, really planning on getting that phone because I thought, that could be a business opportunity. One of the things that they are making a big deal out of is Essential doesn't put any branding at all on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of people like branding on their phone if it's done like with the Google stuff or whatever. So I already had some renders done for some ways to incorporate the logo. And I was like, I could probably sell enough of those things to pay for a phone. And then I saw the camera. I'm like, oh, God. Even the 360 footage looks pretty bad. So,
and they're going to be compared to Samsung's new 360 camera thing.
Yep.
That they're giving away free.
So I guess I'm going to wait for the reviews. And I'm on the reserve list or whatever, the pre-order list. It didn't cost anything to sign up, so I did. But man, I hope they get out some reviews soon and the camera's actually really good and that guy just didn't know what he was doing. But the thing that gives me pause is he posted those pictures and then some blogs started posting how terrible the pictures were, and then he deleted them. Yeah, that's the smoking gun right there.
That just adds credence. Although it would seem better if the better play would have been to have someone who knows how to take crappy flip phone and can make great pictures out of it, take some pictures and post those up and say, and kind of do self-deprecating humor.
Yep.
Never mind him. He doesn't know how to take a picture. His thumb was in the way. Check these out. But yeah, I mean, that's a big news. Anytime you get a new player in the game, let's just hope they don't end up like Game of Thrones characters and meet a bloody end.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds serious.
In the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die.
Oh. Ouch.
Yeah. So let's let everybody know where they can reach us.
I'm easy to find. Just go to billstebbins.com or find me on Twitter at billstebbins.
And on the simulcast.
Yes, which we will be recording. I don't know. I'm on vacation next week, so it won't be next
Probably the week after.
Yeah, probably the week after. So hang in there. real life happens, and
We'll
yeah.
send out the simulcast signal.
Yeah, there you go.
So for mine, I actually changed my handle. My new handle is at AXP_Patrick.
There you go. I'm not changing mine.
No, yours has been too well established.
I'm
It's
the
your
jack of
name.
all trades.
It's also your name. So
That's right.
unless you go do some legal mumbo jumbo, you're stuck with that.
Yep.
So in closing, you can find us by simply searching for AndroidXperience or TechSide in your podcast client of choice, or you can subscribe to our show in Google Play Music or iTunes if you so choose. Please take the time to leave us a review and comment. Alternatively, we have another link in our show notes for our non-Google Play Music and iTunes listeners, which you can find here. We have a Patreon page. This gives our dedicated and loyal listeners an opportunity to support the podcast for as little as $1 a month. If you would like to support us, visit our support page at patreon.com/techside. Leave us a comment on Twitter at AXP Podcast, or email the network at axp@techside.net. Check out our website at techside.net/AXP. And also be sure to check out all of our other great podcasts, blogs, photo galleries, and the TechSide store on techside.net. We thank you all for listening. Goodbye and good night.
Good night.